Hey everybody, this is Len in the editing bay. We had a little bit of an issue with a couple of the tracks on this episode, so I just had to use the master track from Twitch, which means the levels are going to be a little bit off since I couldn't adjust them separately like I normally do when we do a multi-track recording. So this episode's going to sound a little bit weird compared to our usual quality level, but we should be back to normal next week. Thanks for your understanding. Hello and welcome to NoCB, a grand strategy podcast for the week of the 13th of January, 2021. This is our first podcast of the new year, the first podcast of I guess this is technically year 3 since we did have a couple episodes in 2019. But it's more like the start of year 2 of NoCB cast. I'm Leanna Hafer, and I am joined today by Lambert.
Hello there.
And by Father Loris.
What's up? Hello.
Apparently Rose's sink broke and she's having to build an ark or something, so she won't be able to join us this week, unfortunately. She should be back next time. And we're coming back from a fairly long hiatus here, as are the Paradox team with a couple of cool dev diaries. But before we get into that, did either of you do anything fun, grand strategy related over the break?
I got the snow off my driveway. There was a strategy involved. You have to go from a certain angle, and you need to make sure that your snow shovel doesn't hit the ground at a certain angle. Otherwise, you basically like double over the handle, and it's just a bad time. So there is a strategy involved, and it is a grand task because I live in Finland and it snows an awful lot. So it's an awful lot of snow. There's a grand strategy involved in clearing the snow. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've been trying out some mods, I guess. That's what I've been up to.
Oh, yeah. No, definitely. That's something I do want to talk about today. EU4 mods.
Is it Anbennar by any chance?
It is.
Yeah. That's what I've been playing.
Anbennar
I just
is
downloaded
amazing.
that. I haven't started a game with it yet, but we could talk about that a little bit later.
You specifically are going to love it.
That is what I've heard.
Yeah.
That is what I've heard.
So up your alley.
We have just a couple dev diaries today, but they're both pretty substantial in terms of content. And we'll be starting off with Imperator, where we got to see a look at the new system for provincial buildings and civilization value, as well as the mission trees coming for Macedon in the next DLC/update. Lambert, I haven't watched your video on this one yet, but what do you feel about these changes overall?
Generally, I am very positive about them. There's a couple of things that I think are maybe a little iffy, but it's things that I would need to like play with myself to kind of get a handle on how it works. Things like the civilization value being directly the same as your population output modifier is kind of insane. It's pretty easy to get high population outputs. So getting like plus 100% is totally going to be doable at some point. It also means that the city-states in Greece are going to be punching way above their weight. Because obviously barbarians, they start with oftentimes less than 30 civilization value. And like Athens is something in the 60s. So you're going to have kind of double population output compared to someone twice your size. It's going to be kind of insane.
I kind of like that. I like playing tall in general, but I like the idea that countries like Athens are going to be a little bit stronger. I really like playing. I always forget their name, but it's that one Greek colony that's on like the southwestern side of Iberia.
Is it something like Hypatia or something like that, or Hydruntum?
It's 2 words, and I can't remember what they are. But I like playing as them. But you get eaten by the Iberian tribes a lot. Even if you try to like make peace with them, they're eventually like, oh, 2 of the biggest ones have a rivalry, and I have to ally with one of them to keep the other one happy, and I picked the losing side. Okay, so that's happened to me a couple times.
It's the same for the other 2 Greek colonies that I know of there as well. There's Emporion, around about where the Barcelona area is, and Massalia, where like Monaco and Nice is. Greek colonies surrounded by barbarians. Yeah, they're going to be a lot easier to play, I think, in the next patch, for sure.
Yeah. Well, I also like that they've tuned down the pop happiness modifier for a low civilization, because I think RAO actually points this out in the dev diary that like if you're a noblewoman in like Caledonia, I don't think you're sitting around like, damn, I really wish we had some aqueducts. Really sucks being a Caledonian noble with no aqueducts. Like, yeah, I mean,
he's just raging up there. Everyone else is good.
I don't even know what an aqueduct is, but there's something missing in my life. If only we had.
I want a bridge that has water in it.
What if we cut up a bunch of rocks and just laid them out in lines? And man, I just.
There's one thing that I think is kind of interesting here, and that is they're sort of redefining what civilization value means. They're saying it's infrastructure and sanitation. And I don't know, I've read this dev diary a couple of times now. I don't see where sanitation is really implemented at all. I suppose you might make the argument that you can only build aqueducts when you've got a civ value of 30 or more. And sure, but no, not really. I think there could be more focus on sanitation. There's no kind of squalor mechanics.
Yeah, I mean that's got to be. I would almost want to see that as like its own DLC, like the Imperator version of Reapers do.
Yeah, I want to see sanitation as its own modifier and not worked into civilization value.
I was looking. So the first sewers in Rome were built between 800 and 735 BC. So you could definitely add sewer systems as a building type. It'd be appropriate for the time period.
Costing 5,000 talents and, not very easy to make.
Right.
Would very much like, in Medieval 1 Total War, how you played as the Saxons. And, if you're playing as the Romans, you got to have like your sewer system and everything. And then the Saxons got like the shits pit that you all shat in. Yeah, basically, that's what I want as for tribes. Increase my sanitation just by building a hole. That's all I want.
I mean, that's how you start when you're playing RimWorld with the hygiene mod. Like, the first thing you build is a shit pit.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you can have, the classic city skyline situation of somehow everything is just overflowing with poop. You don't know what happened.
I mean, if you're playing RimWorld with that mod, you need a river and you need to pay attention to which direction it's flowing.
I want two things from this hygiene DLC. I want shit pits, and I also want to have like fluid physics, but play out on the map.
Who cares about royalty? I want to know where the shit's flowing.
Exactly. Yeah.
And, they could add back in like a closed latrine, and that could be the building that increases your noble happiness, because they don't want to just shit in a shit pit. They don't want people looking at them.
Yeah. They want their own personal shit pit.
Yeah, exactly.
Or if they're super noble, they want everyone to look at them, so they assert dominance.
That could be like a culture. You could tie that to culture. Certain cultures want other people to watch. Some don't. This is off. We're off to a great start. 2021.
Yeah, no. The very first comment that we've got in the chat of 2021 is "Woo, the tangent cast is back," and oh my, has that never been more relevant?
Yeah, it's a very highbrow on topic podcast. Those are the two terms I would use to describe us.
Look, we just like to talk some shit sometimes.
Yeah, shit talking.
Back on topic. Buildings.
So building, right. Yeah. So there aren't latrines yet, but they have changed it. So certain buildings have a hard cap, which honestly helps me a lot. It's going to help me a lot with decision fatigue, because I have a really hard time deciding when I have enough of something. So I like if there's a soft cap or a hard cap to be like, okay, you're done with this particular type of building.
Yeah. Definitely, I would like to see caps on kind of everything. If I think about how the Bronze Age mod did it, you couldn't build any building more than once in a city, but you had many options, and they were all viable options, and you didn't have enough building slots to build everything. So you still had that decision making going on. I don't really want to see cities with just like, oh, I've got 10 aqueducts and 2 libraries, and then just scale that up as my city builds. I really don't want to see that again, because that was really killed the building system for me.
Of course, I only played in Tibet too, so it was just Lhasa that had like 800 aqueducts on it. I don't know where they got the aqueducts from. I mean, it's hard to find an area higher than Lhasa, I guess, to like bring water to.
You're just hooking them straight up to Everest, I guess.
Yeah.
It's the meltwater.
Yeah.
Look, we basically what we do is we cause an avalanche, and the aqueduct is actually just a really big gutter system that will take the snow further downhill.
There you go. Yeah.
I like to think there's just hundreds of pump operators working in Lhasa, like endlessly to try and get these aqueducts running all the time.
There is one building that hasn't actually been changed here as well, and that is the aforementioned aqueduct, which functions as before. You can just build an infinite number of them.
Sweet.
In my video, I had about a 20 or 30 minute rant about this. I was not happy at all. The aqueducts were unchanged. But in the comments of this forum thread, there was a discussion going back and forth with Arheo, and he's kind of put my mind at rest about them quite significantly. Like the megacity is probably not going to be possible anymore. Because the reason that aqueduct spam was so effective is because you could stack enough modifiers to your cities so that if you built an aqueduct, which you need, 10 pops for a single extra building, you could build enough, get enough of that bonus so that one aqueduct would give you 11 pop cap. And that's where it becomes infinitely repeatable and infinitely worth making more and more of them. That's no longer the deal. You can't actually make, you can't get the pop cap above, I think it's like 150% is what you need. So an aqueduct is always going to be a loss for you. You're never going to be able to build enough to cover what it costs to build them, which I'm cool with.
Yeah, I also really like that they're killing monopop cities.
Yes.
By limiting the pop ratio buildings. I thought it was kind of silly that you would just have one city where all of your academics live, and I don't know where they're getting their food from. I guess they're having it delivered by cart from the countryside every day. Yeah.
I do have an idea for a building system that I still think would be better, and that'd be that the pops are demanding of certain buildings. So if you're a nobleman, you might demand to have in the city that you live a library, and the amount of noblemen that you have impacts how many libraries they want. And if you have fewer than that many libraries, the nobleman will have a happiness penalty. And if you have more than the amount that they want, the libraries become inefficient. So, basically you've got an ideal number of buildings for each of the buildings, and that is determined by how many pops you have and maybe some inventions and such. If you have more than that, they're inefficient. If you have less than that, they're unhappy. Simple, and I think would be pretty good.
Yeah. I was thinking you could even do something like for the unlimited buildings, if they represent more than 50% of the total buildings in the settlement, you get like some kind of diminishing returns, which would encourage you to build other buildings so you could build more of the building you want.
Yeah, like a ratio system.
Either one of those would probably work. As always, they're saying these numbers aren't final.
Yeah.
We don't have any release date for any of this yet, I don't think. So
not one that I know of. There's one building that I still think is kind of useless, and that is the earthwork here. I don't think I'm ever going to build this. And I actually said this in the replies to this thread as well, that I just think it's kind of garbage. I don't think anyone's ever going to build them, and the niche situations where they are useful. So, for example, on mountain choke points, like this would be great on a mountain choke point, but you can only build an earthwork where there is already a fort, and it's a city level building. So the introduction of this is kind of encouraging you to build cities on mountain choke points, and I really hate the idea of encouraging that.
So it'll be really good for Tibet, though.
Yeah, I was
Yeah,
thinking
it would
that.
be good for Tibet. But the thing is, I looked in Tibet. I looked around the whole map. I can only find one city that starts on a mountain province,
Yeah.
and it's in Greece. So I don't see it
thinking
as
if I was like,
good.
building frontier cities where I know I'm going to be fighting horse archers a lot. Like maybe that would make sense. But yeah,
I quite like the idea of a frontier city. You know, like a big, like a Chinese style gate city. You know, so cool.
Yeah. It would be very niche. I agree.
But I don't like it. I don't like the idea of encouraging people to build cities on mountain choke points. I think that's the wrong direction.
Fair
like
enough.
the dwarves, you know, you have a mountain hold.
Yeah, they live in the city, in the mountain, not on the mountain. That's very different. That's very, very different. Also, that would have been a perfect segue into Anbennar, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Well, the other little tweak we got before we look at the Macedon missions is they're adding a mutually exclusive pair of technologies for urban versus rural planning, which to me looks like, do you love micromanagement or not? Because adding one slot to all of your rural provinces just seems like that would be a recipe for, I'm going to spend the next 2 hours clicking around the map to add buildings to all my rural provinces. So I'll probably stick to the urban one.
I disagree. I think rural planning is way better.
I mean, it's probably stronger. It just seems like it's going to be really micromanagement heavy once you get a big empire.
I don't think it's going to be micromanagement. I think what you will be doing initially, all throughout the game, is building the correct buildings for each settlement. So if you've got a mine, mineable good, you'll build a mine there. If you've got some food good, you'll build some food there. And then once you unlock this, you just spam barracks. Just straight up spam the barracks. It's clearly the best building for something that doesn't have something unique. So I'm just that's where I would go. I've got mines, I've got food provinces already sorted. Unlock this, spam the barracks. Which I don't like the idea that I'm going to have to do that, but I feel like that's where I'm going to go with this.
What were you saying, Lars?
Yeah, it'd be quite expensive to set up, right? Like spamming.
Oh yeah. But I mean, there are 100 talents each. It depends on how big you've made your empire by the time you get this. But yeah, it's probably going to be quite expensive.
I guess it wouldn't be too bad. I forget. Have they added to the macro builder in Imperator where you can sort by where you would get the most benefit from building something?
I believe so. But I can't say for sure.
I can't remember if they have that. If they have that in the game, it wouldn't be too bad because you can just start at the top of the list and slowly work your way down. But
slave estates are also really good.
Yeah, it's nice to have choices, extra choices like this, where you're going to have to kind of shape how your empire works through the tech tree. I'd love to see more big decisions like that.
Yeah.
Especially if they unlocked other like smaller subtrees after that help you even more with whatever path you chose.
Yeah.
I did not really read the part about the mission trees. So Lambert, why don't you give us what you can do as Macedon?
I think, well, first off, the mission tree, it's okay. It's nothing massively special. There's a whole lot of uniting Greece and forming the League of Corinth here, and also going towards the coastline where Epirus is. That's generally where the mission trees are going to take you. But I think the interesting thing about the mission trees is that if you form Macedon as any other nation, for example, forming it as the Antigonids, who have a mission to go this direction, that we saw, I think it was the last podcast we did where we did the Antigonid tree, then you also get 2 of the missions. So if you, as the Antigonids, decide to go down the Become Macedon path, you'll have 5 mission trees for yourself, which then adding on the standard ones that everyone gets is kind of a lot. I think it makes Antigonids even more enticing to play.
Yeah, it's interesting that so does the League of Corinth, do they become your
Feudatory.
vassal or your tributary? Okay.
Yeah.
I think that's an interesting thing Imperator's been doing that the other Paradox games don't really do, is the idea that you're going to unite a bunch of outside tags into like a vassal tag or a tributary tag, rather than just you get that land. So
I have ideas on how I would do league systems, because League of Corinth here, having just a single chunky feudatory is objectively less powerful than having all of the tags individually feudatoried, especially as they don't take Diplo slots anyway. So this is just weaker than, well, it's weaker than owning the land yourself. And it's also weaker than having it all individual. So you'd have a Sparta, Messenia, an Athens, Boeotia. Like having all of them individually is so powerful. So this is kind of like the worst thing you could possibly do with this land. But I do have an idea for how I would love to see leagues, like especially Greek leagues, work. And it'd be using the defensive league system. I'd say that if there are a bunch of nations in a defensive pact, it would like it would invent like a ghost tag that isn't tied to any specific territory. And it would be called, say, the League of Corinth. Your new defensive league would be called something, maybe based on the most powerful member or whatever, or the region perhaps. And then a larger nation over a certain size would be able to interact with the tag that it creates with the league as a whole and become its patron. And so that way you would be able to have members of the league fight their own wars, which a feudatory can't. They would be able to do that. You would be tasked with defending them. And then other larger tags would also have like Casus Belli on you to take control of the patronage of the league. And it would have a whole new kind of gameplay where you're fighting for control of a big block of little mini states, which I think would be pretty cool.
Yeah. Two things kind of come to mind with that. One being the daimyo system in EU4.
Yep.
And then also like the idea like Stellaris has with alliances or with federations now, where it's like a discrete thing you can kind of like level up and vie for control over. That would be kind of an interesting way to do city-state leagues, I think, if the league existed as something that you could contribute to and unlock bonuses for. It'd be pretty cool.
Yeah.
Anything else about the Imperator Dev Diary before we move on here today?
Yeah, I don't know if we've talked about this in the past, or if it's the first ever diary I've noticed this, but the event screen, the UI on the event screen, like the flare at the top and the flare at the bottom, I feel like that needs to be pointed out how cool that is. With little Greek shields, little soldiers like running over the top. It's just really nice. Well, really nice color coding too. It's just white and red. It's just lovely. It's very lovely.
Yeah, it looks great.
They've done a lot of good stuff with the UI.
They really have.
Oh, and TM Toady was actually pointing out in chat that they haven't shown the macro builder for buildings yet. So that question I had about whether you can sort by where would be the best place to build a barracks, we don't know yet. But so the other dev diary we got for this week is another thing that I've been yelling about for a long time, which is they are finally adding playable tags to Polynesia in EU4. Quite a few more than I thought, actually. There's multiple tags in New Zealand. Hawaii's been broken up into 4 provinces that each have their own tag. We got Samoa, we got Tonga. The Fijian archipelago has 3 tags in it now, I think. And they're getting new missions and stuff. Was there anything in particular that stood out to you about this?
I'm very disappointed that they didn't show an event where your option, the button you click to get rid of the event, is I'd like to say you're welcome. Pretty salty that wasn't shown. But other than that, no, it's great. It's great.
Yeah. It doesn't look that comprehensive. I think they're still animist. From what I can tell, they get some specific events that tie into the Polynesian religion, but they're not getting a new religion. They're not explicitly getting any new mechanics. They did confirm they will be able to build ships, which would be very, 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 very silly. Their tech group did not start out with the ability to build ships like I think the Australians and the North Americans, and maybe even the South Americans do. I don't. Does the South American tech group have boats now? I can't remember.
No, I don't think it does. It takes a while before you unlock them.
Boats. Yeah.
They're their own tech group now.
Yeah, so they're their own tech group. Actually, down in one of the comments, I think they showed. Yeah, if you search for one of Alderon's comments, they show what the map will look like to the Polynesians at the beginning of the game. I have counted 17 free provinces if you want to do a Control F. Yeah, there we go. So that's all you'll be able to see initially as Polynesia.
Which is good. Like, that was a big concern when adding new nations somewhere, the colonization. But 17 provinces, that's enough to get a foothold. If you really want to conquer New Zealand, that shouldn't be a problem.
I'm pretty curious to see if they will get anything related to explorers and colonization, because like the Philippines got that special mission where they can colonize locations in the Philippines without a colonist. And for Polynesia, I think it would make sense if they didn't have to wait until they unlock exploration ideas or whatever to start discovering new stuff.
Yeah,
because there's 3 tech levels away. Plus 2 ideas. That's a fair amount of distance away.
Yeah, especially if you. I don't know. Did they start with feudalism unlocked? I know they start at tech level 2, but I don't know.
I don't think they mentioned it.
Yeah, they didn't mention whether they start with feudalism or not. So yeah, it could be a while before you actually can hire an explorer. Whereas it's Polynesia. They're pretty good at exploring by boat already. They came up with some pretty ingenious ways to do it too, without a lot of the technology that we associate with naval exploration. There was an Ask Historians thread on it that if I had it on hand, I'd link it, but I won't go searching for it in the middle of the podcast, but maybe I'll throw it in the show notes. Like it's some fairly simple stuff that when you think about it, you're like, oh yeah, that makes sense. Like, you can bring coconuts float. So you can bring as many coconuts with you on a boat. Like you can just tie them to the side of the boat.
Yeah.
Like they're not going to affect your buoyancy or anything. And you can get water from that. And then only when they were initially exploring, they would only sail halfway out of what they of however long they knew their supplies would last. So that if they didn't see any land, they knew exactly when they needed to turn around and go back. And they would do that in every direction and see if they would find another island. And it's, it's stuff that's like, yeah, we think like, oh, how did you, without compasses and without, clocks to, help you figure out your coordinates and stuff. How did they do that? And it was a lot of trial and error using some pretty ingenious, but also like common sense seeming strategies for getting from island to island.
And people, I don't think, realize how great a distance these distances are. I mean, like, if you imagine the distance between, Hawaii to the next nearest island cluster, I mean, it's pretty much walking back and forth across Europe, pretty much. It's a hell of a distance. So if you just to Madagascar, for goodness sake. Like, I mean, Madagascar was primarily colonized by Polynesians. Like, And that was across the entirety of the Indian Ocean.
I think those were Austronesians, not Polynesians, but yeah, they had to go a very long way.
It's like across the Indian Ocean, we managed to sail.
Yeah. Well, the thing that I always tell people to do to like understand how big the Pacific Ocean is get a globe, or if you go on Google Maps and like go on the globe view and you scroll to the Pacific Ocean, it's possible to like get your cursor in a place where you can't really see any continents. Like the Pacific Ocean is so big that depending on what angle you're looking at the Earth, it might look like the entire Earth is basically a giant ocean. Like that's how
it's an ocean planet from Stellaris, and like that's what half of our world is.
Yeah, Pacific Ocean it's pretty big. So yeah, they are getting new missions as well.
We get some new units. That'd be pretty good.
Yeah.
I'm assuming if they have their own tech group, then they're going to have their own units too.
Like unit models, I mean. So.
Yeah.
Oh, unit model. Yeah, I don't know. Did they show?
There's a unit model there, but it's the African model, which I assume they're going to change.
Yeah, I'll be curious to see that. Yeah, they didn't really show what a lot of these missions are, like modernization of Oceania. I don't. It looks like a picture of a warehouse.
I'm happy about that, honestly. I have felt that when they're showing off the missions and they're going through, and then you do this and here's your bonuses and stuff, it takes all of the joy of doing the missions yourself completely out of it. I want to go and explore these missions. I want to go do them and figure out what exactly is going on and what I have to do next by actually going through them rather than reading them in a dev diary. So I'm happy that they're not spoiling them, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they do have this one historically accurate one, which is exactly what I was talking about. So the mission's called Island Hoping. So I'm assuming that's just sailing out and hoping you find an island. No, I'm pretty sure that's just a typo. That's yeah.
It's nice though.
Yeah.
It is a good typo. Sunset Invasion. We totally know what's happening here.
I guess you would have
Europeans.
Yeah.
Well, as long as they got like rugby-based achievements, like they did with Wales, it's very important.
Yeah, there you go.
Incredible nation of rugby players. Every single Tonga is. Oh my goodness, Tonga is basically a island nation, but their rugby team is sublime for what they are. Like for the nation that they are, basically for this tiny nation with a tiny population, they spit out like the greatest.
It's the same with like American Samoa. I think by percentage of population, there are more professional American football linebackers from American Samoa than anywhere else in the world. They're just enormous, like tanks, basically. So yeah,
it's in New Zealand too.
Yeah,
maybe increase shock damage and reduce shock damage taken or something like that.
Morale damage for your enemy, because they're they're doing the haircut mid battle.
Yeah, that would make sense.
I will say I kind of don't like this bit of New Zealand specifically. I love this. This is awesome, right? It's very granular. There's multiple provinces. By comparison, the larger island looks utterly boring.
It was way less populated. Yeah, I think it even today is still significantly less populated, but it would be nice if they added some extra provinces down there.
I would say even split it along this mountain ridge.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the Northern Island, I'm pretty sure the Northern Island has always been the more populated part of New Zealand. The South Island's actually very cold. Like, I think it's.
Yeah, it's why all the Presbyterian Scots went. I always throws me about those Presbyterian Scots. They went to New Zealand. They went to the North Island. It was like a beautiful paradise, tropical trees. They're like, oh no, we can't settle here. It's too bright and sunny. And then they go all the way down to South Island to settle some dreary shithole in the South Island. Oh yes, this is dreary, miserable.
It's very beautiful though. Like I'd love to go there. I'd love to go.
It reminds me of that old Al Murray skit where it's like, why would you ever want to move to New Zealand? It's basically Scotland. There's mountains, it's cold, and it's full of sheep.
Well, that's it. That's what people say. Yeah, it's those islands basically got Wales beat on everything. They've got bigger hills, better hills. So they're better at rugby than us, and they've got sexier sheep. So they beat us.
Also, let's be fair. The Shire is right there.
Yeah,
it is. Yeah. What if it's Lord of the Rings-based achievements? Probably should be.
Oh, there's going to be a new one for Aragon for sure.
Vassalize Aragon, conquer Mordor. That's New Zealand.
Oh yeah. No, it does seem like one of those cases where it seems like certain groups just always end up immigrating to places that remind them of home. Like the fact that there's so many Swedes in Michigan and Minnesota. And it's like, yeah, it's cold and wet and, there's lots of pine trees. It's, very, very similar climate and landscape wise.
No matter where you look in the US, you will find somewhere that has the same climate as where you come from.
Yeah, that's true. Even just within California, I think California has like 11 distinct climate zones. So yeah.
West Virginia, lots of people sat over there.
Alfred Strike also points out there is the tag of Saruhan in Anatolia. So
true, yeah.
Oh, there you go.
I think Aragon has some kind of either achievement or a mission to do something with Saruhan.
Yeah, hasn't Saruhan got like a flag of the White Hands too? I believe. I think so. I think it's a tag that exists.
I would not put that past Paradox, honestly. Was there anything else from this dev diary that seemed particularly interesting?
No, I'm very, very happy that you're finding, everything that you have been asking for the past few podcasts. It's like, oh yeah, it's done now. There you go.
Yeah. It's I apparently I'm to EU4 what you are with, where if we say something on the show, they'll add it to the game eventually. So, I think I told the story before that, like right after. I want to say it was like right after Cradle of Civilization, someone asked me what I thought the next DLC should be, and I said they should just do the same thing but do it in India. And apparently someone got asked that did anybody leak Dharma to me ahead of time? Troy just had to be like, no, she just predicts what we're gonna do. It's it's a thing.
No one's taken me up on my suggestion of customizable totem poles that work like Civ 3 palaces,
Yeah. Well, we'll see if they get around to doing the West Coast of the Americas, and the West Coast of North America, and then all of South America would probably be a good scope for a smaller update, because those both could use some more. That's what I'm going to be complaining about now.
South America.
Well, South America and the West Coast of North America are now the least flavored regions.
Yeah.
What I want for South America, the most important thing for South America is fixing the borders so that if you own every province in South America, there isn't one bloody wasteland province that doesn't get colored in, because there is right now. I hate it.
Oh, really?
Yeah. No, it's awful. It's awful.
Yeah.
Bloody Amazon rainforest. Someone should burn you down. You're being so annoying. Spoiler alert, please don't do that.
I want more palm oil. Give me more palm oil.
So we mentioned Anbennar.
I've been buying barrels of this stuff.
So we mentioned Anbennar at the beginning of the show, which is kind of like a high fantasy mod for EU4. I've actually downloaded it, but I haven't played it yet. But you both have played it, is that right?
Yeah. I've been playing a bit of multiplayer every Saturday.
Yeah, we've actually been there's a few of us that have been talking about doing a multiplayer thing for that at some point in the future.
Super recommend it.
So what is the setup like? I don't know if we can pull a map up. Maybe
I'm pulling it up right now.
Okay, cool.
I don't know. I haven't left the mountains.
What's the premise? Who can you play as, and like how does it differ from vanilla EU4?
So there's a lot more flavor, obviously, especially when it comes to like fantasy mods for anything. There's a lot more flavor for each civilization. So, you know, for example, if you're playing the dwarves, your gameplay is completely different from, say, if you're playing a centaur, which is kind of like a hordes type gameplay, but it's a lot more specialized type gameplay. And there's the like a Holy Roman Empire type thing, but it's a lot more specialized to be like, it feels a lot more like Holy Roman Empire gameplay on steroids, you know, or the centaurs like hordes mechanics on steroids, or well, the dwarves are kind of their own thing, really. The dwarves got this weird mechanic where they have to like dig deeper and also reclaim mountain homes and stuff. It's cool. There's so much flavor. It's like playing a brand new game every time you pick like a different civilization.
It is. It's some, like for the dwarves specifically, it's like you're not playing EU4. It's completely different.
Mm-hmm.
It's D&D inspired EU4 game. Like that's basically how I would describe it. All of the races from D&D are in there. You've got your standard dwarves, you got elves, you got orcs, you got kobolds, you got centaurs, you got ogres, you got trolls. Like it's all in there. The magic in it, all of the schools of magic are the same as in EU4, as in D&D. And if you have a character that is, you know, magically gifted, ruling your country, and he's leading a siege, you can straight up cast Fireball. And why wouldn't you cast Fireball?
Yeah, but mages are very, very powerful. Anyway, I banned them from my Dwarven hold because mages, don't trust them.
Yeah, well, for dwarves, that does make sense, yeah.
I mean, there's no benefit from banishing the mages because they're so powerful, but don't trust them. Don't trust them.
So it's a totally original fantasy world. It's not based on any existing thing.
Well,
and
it is.
Well, I mean, inspired, heavily inspired by, I guess you could say.
The world is also huge. Like, it's real big. They've got an entire world going on. They've got a new world where the elves used to live, and then there was a big cataclysm
new world
event called, I think, the Night of Ashen Skies or something. Then all the elves like had to flee, and so they came to this continent, which is called Canor. And then if you're playing as somebody like Vinail, who my current campaign that I'm streaming is as, they've got a whole fleshed out mission tree where they want to go and recolonize and, you know, bugger off back to their homeland, which is really cool. And like, it's super in depth. It's completely different to playing, for example, one of the remnant dwarves like of Dalkanzad here. They are the dwarves used to own all of the mountains from all the way down here, and also bits up here as well. They used to have an empire called Owl Dwarov. It's like all dwarf kind or something like that. And then the orcs and goblins and hobgoblins came and fucked it all up for them. So now you've got some remnant dwarves here who, you know, barred the gates and didn't let anyone in and have survived somehow. And they need to, you know, expand out and reconquer all of these dwarven roads and the caverns and such.
Yeah.
And you've also got these kind of adventurers, like the Azra Expedition or Duran Blue Shields Company, who have got migration mechanics. So they can migrate around, find themselves one of the holds here, so like Harazorlhum, or like the capital of the old empire.
I remember.
We have a rose.
Yes, the sink is fixed.
Huzzah!
You didn't drown. Fantastic. Good to hear.
But the dwarves are basically going around and trying to recreate the old empire with some very disastrous events that can happen that really kind of hurt.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
I don't want to spoil it because I feel like with this game, like, you know, play it, find out what goes wrong. It's a lot more fun.
Do you have a local recording going, Rose?
Yes, I do.
Okay, cool. We'll sync it up at the end. Awesome. Fantastic. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to playing getting getting into this because
the best thing about it, I think, is the reformation mechanic. I wouldn't say it's a spoiler because it happens quite soon on in the game. But basically, as you colonize the old world, which is the new world, I guess. But all your people believe it's like a regent's court, right? And you're keeping the throne for this god, right? That's in charge. And you go to the old world and you find out the god is literally dead. And then, like, he has a reformation based on gods. You're finding out that God's dead. It's very good.
Wow. Interesting. Yeah, it sounds like Rosebud's really excited about this mod.
Oh yeah, he's all for dwarves and elves and any fantasy stuff you can throw at him.
Have you played any Anbennar yet?
I have not played a game on my computer since I moved. What was it? 2 weeks ago?
Yeah, it's going to be my turn in about 2 weeks from now. So, yeah. I've thought for a long time that the base mechanics of EU4 would lend themselves really, really well to doing more crazy total conversion stuff like this. So I'm glad someone finally did it, because I know I would start and then like end up giving up on the project after like a month.
Yeah.
So
EU4 needed something.
Yeah.
How far along? Do they have a roadmap? Like, have they given any indication?
Well, the next thing that they're going to be doing is working on, I think it's this continent.
Okay.
It's
the
quote unquote not China of the mod. I don't know if it's this continent, which is like all wasteland now, or if it's right here. It's called like Hazra, I think. Is what they're going to be working on.
Yeah, I can't wait. As a big old China boo. I really want that. I want my fantasy mandate of heaven.
I mean, this is called Yanshen, which does sound very Chinese. Oh yeah, Halas is what it's called. So this part here is actually going to be the next one that they're going to be implementing. Which, I mean, it's already broken down into a bunch of provinces, and there's a dwarf hold here that needs to be, fucked with. So it's kind of here, but there's no mechanics and there's no countries, and that will be coming.
It's still a work in progress.
Yeah, definitely. I have my own critiques on the certain things that I would like to see. If I can actually go into one of the games, idea groups I think should be more like Anbennarized, because right now they're just using the vanilla idea groups. The same with the what's called the ages mechanics. It's all very it's called the Age of Unraveling, and they've changed some things, like it's Foothold of Elantir, but these are all identical to what we have in base EU4. I'd love to see that changed as well.
I see. Yeah.
If you're a skilled artist with free time, please go and work on this mod, because it needs to have a lot more art. It really deserves it. It's a really good mod. I just want more art in it. Yeah. This is the dwarf faction that I'm playing as too. Are you playing as these, Lambert?
I mean, I was until I died. So I got attacked by Rajan Haga and I got murdered.
With the dwarf factions, can you build a dwarf fortress?
You can. That's the entire game around dwarves, pretty much. You basically build your main fortress and try and build it. All the rest of the provinces are kind of shit, apart from your dwarven holds, which you really try and bulk out.
So why are they called holds? They should just be fortresses.
That's true.
I think they missed something there.
Copyright claims and there's trademarks and it's a whole area that you just don't want to get into.
Toadie is famously very...
Well, except, CP2 had an achievement called Dwarf Fortress, so...
No,
I could certainly see that being a cool thing.
Feel free to stay no comment if this is like spoiler, but I'm noticing that you can dig deeper. Is there any possibility that
no comment?
Not a single comment on that. You are going to experience that voice.
Well, just go ahead and keep digging deeper. It'll be fine.
Just keep digging.
Sounds legit.
The greedier you dig, the better, I found.
Yeah. Oh no, 100%. Yeah. Just keep digging. And you just get wealth upon wealth upon wealth, and the only thing you find in those caverns are gems and gold and metals and goblins
Nice.
and metals
evil
and gems.
and
my
evil
goodness.
demons with fire.
They're just going to zoom out there so we don't have
I don't
any
know about
spoilers there.
that. It sounds pretty safe to me.
Just keep mining those mithril shards down into the core.
Oh, especially from the province that is full of mithril, called Mithratum.
Yeah. So this mod looks really cool. I'm looking forward to checking it out more. If anybody from the Anbennar team would like to talk to us, we'd be more than happy to have you on the show at some point. Yeah, I'm curious how all this lore came together. And
I've been talking a bit with the devs. I will be certain to ask them if anyone wants to jump on.
Fantastic. Well, our main topic for this week is going to be sort of our predictions for Grand Strategy in 2021. I didn't really give like how strictly we were going to do this, other than like just come up with some predictions. But
I'm going to jump in and steal everyone's thunder and say CK3 DLC is probably going to be.
Wow!
Oh, it has to be.
What a brave prediction that is!
I know.
Oh yeah.
So now we can look back, and I'm going to be the one that is right and correct.
What do you think? What do you think is going to be the first CK3?
There you go.
Yeah.
I don't want to risk like losing my winning streak.
Wait, is it even a winning streak when it hasn't even really started yet?
It's a surefire win, though, isn't it? It's just like,
I mean,
this is going to be the worst betting odds of the century. But it's
I don't
gonna
know.
be...
If society completely collapses before they have time to finish it, then
Look, never more likely.
Yeah, let's not touch that with a 10-foot pole here. Let's live in happy gamer land, please.
Yeah, sure.
Let's call it a 20-meter pole just to get even further away.
Yes, that's perfect.
I support the metric
system.
Let's go with that. Rose, what do you think the first CK3 DLC is going to be?
I honestly think they'll do something with merchants. Merchant Republic's trade.
Okay. Interesting. Lambert, what about you?
The stuff that I think is going to be likely, and then there's something that I would prefer and want more.
Well, you can say both.
So what I think is the most likely is a government for Byzantines, and giving them new clothing, giving them a new government form, new missions, or not missions, new events, and giving you a lot of flavor if you're playing in the Roman Empire. That's what I think is most likely. What I would want the most, I want societies back because they're really cool and they're fun, and it's a role play game, and that's kind of role play. So just let me have my societies back, please. Thank you.
It deepens the role play.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, they're leaning heavily into this is a role play game, like with all of the skill trees and such. And then that's super role play part of CK2. So like, just give us that in CK3. I don't even care if we don't have Satanists anymore.
Well, we have witches now, which are kind of even.
Yeah.
I'd love to see witches fleshed out because it is forming a witch coven, which I did. I made Queen Victoria a witch, and she formed a witch coven. Beautiful.
That's why she lasted so long.
But it gives you like bonuses to fertility and stuff. And then, of course, if you switch to a religion where being a witch is accepted, and then you make everyone witches, and then you get the extra bonuses from having the visible witch secret or visible witch trait. It's lovely.
Nice. Yeah, I like it.
Casey Guy has me figured out. What Lambert wants the most? Rename Byzantium to Rome. Yes. Yeah. Yes. And also yes. I would actually, my preferred name for them would be Basilia Romaean. Like, I think, if they just rename it to that, I'd be totally down for it.
I want them to be renamed to the Ottomans.
Fuck.
CK3 had baby models and baby noises. I mean, it's already heartbreaking enough when you get the, oh no, please don't cry, little one. They're sick.
Yeah. No, I remember the first time I saw that, I was like, oh.
Yeah, it hit even harder after Tommy here got his first cold back in December.
Yeah. The wording on it was particularly
It's
on
on
point.
point.
Yeah.
You two are making me feel awful about wanting the murder sounds back. I want to give.
I do also agree with you on that, because looking through those the audio files for CK2 when I was putting together all my streaming stuff together, just going through and this one is head chopped off 3. What does this one sound like? Like, it's great. There's such a wealth of sound effects in CK2. It's glorious.
Must have had so much fun with that. Like, and
does that event change at all if you're cruel? Like, can you just say like, "Shut up, kid"?
I don't know, but that would be kind of fun. Cruel or sadistic.
Yeah, because I think if you're cruel, you can kill your own kids. So.
No, that's sadistic. You need.
Oh, it is sadistic. Okay, yeah. Yeah. Well, one of the other things about societies is that one of the interviews I did for it was either Holy Fury or Monks and Mystics. They talked about they originally wanted you to be able to become a lay brother of the Holy Orders, like you could become a lay brother of the Knights Templar or something like that. And it just didn't make it into the game because they didn't have enough time. So if they are going to redo societies, I would love it if they let you have more direct interaction with Holy Orders somehow. CK3 benchmarks, yes. Paradox is still saying they are against non-dynastic gameplay in Crusader Kings.
I'm with that, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like you would need to design the game from the bottom up to make it work, probably.
I feel like for theocracies and holy orders to make, they need a whole different game.
Right. Like Henrik Freias has discussed a couple of times some ideas that like spiritual successor, but it apparently it just doesn't work well with the Crusader Kings mechanics.
What if like a Crusader Kings spin-off? Like the Crusading Knights or the Holy Order, I don't know what they would call it, but a spin-off around Crusader Kings.
Like
where you play as
strategy game? Would it still be like a strategy game, or are you thinking?
Yeah, still be a strategy game, but it would be fully based around theocracies, holy orders, and you wouldn't be playing as a dynasty. You'd be playing as perhaps a particular seat, or you'd be playing as maybe you have to pick your successor every time. And if you get deposed, you're deposed. That's the end of the game for you. So you better be picking successors that are going to be successful and, not have the King of France turn on you and confiscate all your land and kick you out.
Yeah.
So obviously I'm not a developer, so I don't know how easy or difficult or anything this would be. But wouldn't you just be able to, say, have everyone that's in the theocracy have some hidden tag on them that would say that they're all part of the same dynasty? And then you would have your still succession mechanics. You just wouldn't have any succession mechanics that had, direct descendants as an option. So things like seniority and things like elective, like that would totally work. So then, when the current Grandmaster of the Templar of the Holy Cross of who the what cares, when he dies, the next Templar Grandmaster is, either the most senior or the most, the one that everyone likes the most. I feel like they could totally make it work if they had the drive to do so.
I think they could do it if they want to. I think it's something that they don't like. That, like, from what I've heard from the developers say, they just feel like that's not what Crusader Kings is, and so they're not that interested in doing it.
Yes, Crusader Kings isn't about playing as the Crusading Knights.
Well, you can you can't still play a Crusader. You just can't play a Holy Brother, I suppose. Yeah. I don't know. My prediction is still that they're not going to make Republics or Theocracies playable in CK3.
I don't think so. Republics I want, though. I think that's still
I would love to see Republics.
I'm pretty sure they will go with Republics at some point.
Yeah. I still kind of think the first DLC is either going to be what Lambert said with imperial government stuff just because that's so highly requested, and it's it's hard for me to even play on that part of the map right now because I know it's so far from what it actually was during this time period.
Right now, it's just enjoy primogenitive, 6 centuries early.
I also think
it does need to be fixed. Is unless they've changed it, which I don't think they have, is when you form Rome, you lose primogenitor succession if you had it.
Oh, well, that's
you get whatever, I forgot what it's called. You get Gavelkin, basically.
Yeah,
that seems like a bug. To be honest,
Byzantium shouldn't be able to form Rome anyway because they already are Rome.
Yeah,
I'm not even joking about that. Like, I don't think they should be able to form Rome. I think it's kind of ridiculous.
Well, they could get a decision. The decision could be called Reclaim Western Empire or something like that. They should get something to recognize if they reconquer the other half of the empire.
Yeah, you need to feel
all of it, sure, but that's not what the Form Rome decision wants you to do. Like, you don't need to have the entirety of the empire. You need a little bit of Egypt. You need Rome. I think you need all of Italy, actually. That might be the case.
Yeah.
But it's actually not that much territory that you need. It's certainly not most of the Western Empire. I mean, historically, the Eastern Roman Empire under Justinian had all of the provinces that you would need in CK3 to form Rome. Like, he reconquered, Rome for a while. So, I mean, I don't know. I just don't think it should be possible to form Rome and become a new tag and get a new flag. It's just, it's not what they would have done because they already considered themselves fully fledged, legitimate Roman Empire. So why would they, I've conquered a little bit of the West. Let's call ourselves Rome even harder.
Yeah. Yeah, I see where I think I agree with that. There should be some sort of a decision attached to reclaiming certain parts of the old Western Empire, but not necessarily something that's like, we weren't really Rome, but now we are. That doesn't. So it's either going to be imperial government stuff because I think that's what would be the fan favorite, or I think I mentioned at some point before that I feel like they're going to do more with culture just because of how fleshed out the religion mechanics are.
Religion is very solid for a while now. In the game.
There's still a couple things I'd like to do with religion, but I would love to see them do more with being able to maybe found a new culture the way you can found a heresy would be pretty cool. And
I wish with religion that we could actually pick what are the sins and the virtues.
Yeah, that would be nice.
Also,
because
let me name the temporal head. If I'm forming a Catholic heresy, I don't want the temporal head to be called the Pope. That sounds pretty bad.
I don't know. It was pretty funny adapting Massalian into a religion that had a Pope. And we had Pope Victoria III. It was beautiful.
Nice.
Because we all know that's a myth and that game's never going to happen. So might as well make it happen somewhere else.
They could add another box to maybe a religion name or something like that. But what would there be? What would a female pope actually be called? Like, I know that it's never happened before, but is there an equivalent?
The Catholic Pope doesn't actually have Pope anywhere in his title. The Pope, if you're being like super literalist about it, there is only one Pope. He's not a Catholic. He's the head of the Coptic faith. He is literally called the Pope, but the Pope that we all think of in the Vatican ain't actually called the Pope.
Yeah, isn't a Pope like just a mistranslation of
So his proper title is giving Daenerys a run for her money. Bishop of Rome, Vicar of Jesus Christ, successor of the Prince of the Apostles, Supreme Pontiff of the Universal Church, Primate of Italy, Archbishop and Metropolitan of the Roman Province, Sovereign of the State of Vatican City, Servant of the Servants of... Oh, actually, that's not even all of it. I need to actually click on the link. Holy shit, Google doesn't have enough. Sovereign of the State of Vatican City and Servant of the Servants of God. That's
the
a title.
Andals and the Rhoynar and the First Men.
Yeah. That's
let's see.
But yeah, no Pope in there.
Yeah,
I wonder why he's called the Pope.
It's literally a mistranslation of Italian for dad.
That's what I was gonna say. Like, if you use the same etymology as Pope, would you just call her the mom?
That's why I call the Pope Daddy. I refuse to use the Pope.
Yeah.
What is mother in Italian? And we'll make our own female Pope name. Madre. It would just literally be called Madre.
Okay. Yeah.
So she should have been Madre Victoria III.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
I take it you haven't read the full list of titles the British Queen has. The difference there, first rank, is she deserves them.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Anyway, the other big prediction I have for this year, I'm putting this. I put percentages on it. I think there is a 90% chance, I'm going to say, that there will be a new Paradox Grand Strategy game announced this year.
I think if COVID goes away to the point where we can have a PDXCon, I agree with you. I don't think they're going to announce anything without PDXCon.
I don't know that they would put off an announcement of a game just because they couldn't hold a convention, but yeah, maybe.
It's such good publicity, though.
And then out of those, I think there is a 75% chance that it's going to be EU5. 15% chance it's something completely different we haven't heard before.
Like Vicky 3?
That's a separate thing.
We've heard that one plenty.
Yeah. So 75%.
Are you sure? I thought it was just a myth.
75% chance of EU5, 15% chance something completely new, 5% chance Vicky 3, and I also have 5% chance Stellaris 2. Because they have mentioned that they might want to make a sequel to Stellaris sooner than they did for their other games.
Yeah, no, that would make sense, actually, I think.
Considering that 5% is 1 out of 20, can we say that on a critical success, that's when we get Vicky 3?
Okay, does anybody have a D20 by
I literally
right
do.
All right, Lambert is going to roll a D20, and if you roll a 20, Vicky 3 confirmed. All right, go for it.
I'll actually put it up on screen as well.
Oh, wow. So we can actually have visual.
Because I play D&D every Saturday, so I've got this. We can roll a D20, and it is... Shit. It's a 17.
Oh, so close.
Close, but no cigar.
So this will be like the Groundhog Day for NoCB cast. Is on January 13th every year. We're gonna roll a D20 to see if the 3 is coming out this year.
Digital dice are heresy. I mean, you use what you got.
No, I do actually have a real D20, but I wanted to show it. I got some D20. I got some D&D dice from.
Okay, go ahead and roll a physical die, and we'll take your word for it.
Oh God! All right, be right back.
Okay. Well, if you're gonna have to go get one, I could go into the other room and get one. I thought you meant you had one right here.
Could take 3 steps backwards and get one from the closet.
Yeah, I've got them in the next room over, basically. So
my office is still a disaster zone. It's the one room in the house that is a disaster zone. I've got everything else put away, but
yeah.
The closets have built-in organizers here, and so I've got to figure out stuff. And then my husband's nursing books are in there too. So,
yeah, sounds about right.
Wait, you keep your dice in a drawer in your desk. Who has drawers in their desks anymore?
I do.
I wish I had drawers in my desk.
Nope, that's the D12 bag. That's the D100 bag. And this one is... Oh, that's a D6.
Like, you're all fancy putting your different dice in different bags.
I mean,
just throw
they all came in individual bags, so... Oh,
I
there's
put everything
D20.
in-
All right, here we go.
All right.
Here's
All
the
right.
roll.
Ready? This is the real roll.
It's a 2.
Oh, man. All right. So,
Look, we have advantage. We have advantage.
okay.
Well, here,
a
how about I go
19.
get my dice and let's see.
19. Wow. We
Hold
came
on. Do I have
close.
stairs to my room? Yeah, we still have stairs. Unlike
I think if anything,
someone else who has no stairs.
Me. Oh, right. Also, yeah. See, I don't have stairs, but I also live in a bungalow, so I'm excused. Loris, how goes your stairs project? Do you have stairs yet?
No, not yet.
The
Still no
resignation
stairs.
in your voice there.
all right, chat. What do you think is going to happen first? Vicky 3 being announced or Loris fixing stairs?
Honestly, I think Vicky 3 is more likely than his stairs.
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah. See, one
I
go
got-
for
I got-
Vicky 3.
I got everything I need to assemble the stairs, which it's a lot of work in lockdown.
Level
times.
39 nerd thinks it's going to be a joint. But they're gonna have Shams go out on stage, and first he's gonna announce that Loris fixed his stairs, and then and they're gonna bring Johan out or someone to announce Victoria.
See, for all we
yeah.
know, Vicky 3 is actually in Loris's upstairs, but he can't get to it.
Yeah, it's true.
That's what's holding it up.
Well,
yeah.
no. Just the artwork for Vicky 3 is up there, and they can't actually make Vicky 3 without the artwork. So,
God.
Yeah,
Oh.
it's just all
Yeah.
figures.
Any other predictions for what we're going to see for Grand Strategy in 2021?
I mean, like for me, it all depends on whether we have a PDXCon or not. Because I think for a game announcement, they're going to want a convention. I mean, it depends if even if there isn't a PDXCon, if there is an E3 or a Gamescom, it'll be announced there.
Yeah.
If none of those are on, though, I kind of think they'll just sit on it.
I think we have zombies technically already for Stellaris. What do you think about getting a vampires pack for them?
I would love to see space vampires. Yeah.
I mean,
so-
they kind of already are in. There's like 2 species packs that sort of look like vampires already.
Valor Game is saying aquatics. Yes, I still want aquatic. Species, aquatic origin. It's weird because Stellaris. I guess Stellaris and EU4 are the 2 games where, like, I'm just asking myself the question: how much longer do we have until a sequel? Hoi 4 seems like it's in a pretty good place. I'd say out of the 3 older ones, that's the one that's least likely to get a sequel anytime soon.
Yeah, 100%. There's a good number of DLCs waiting in the wings. Soviet Union
there's
works.
still a lot they could do with Hoi 4.
Well, in EU4's dev diary today, Alderon said that it's the last part of Earth without representation, meaning Polynesia.
That's not exactly
pretty
true.
poignant. That's pretty on point.
There's still South America beyond the west coast of North America.
I mean,
But
it's got representation, though. It just doesn't have mechanics.
oh well, yeah, representation versus flavor, I guess. Yeah. No. Yeah. I think we'll probably see a South America DLC. I mean, it's probably going to be either South America or Scandinavia next for Hoi 4.
No, Soviet Union, definitely.
Well, they'll probably update the Soviet tree next, but I don't know if the whole DLC will be focused on.
Yeah, the DLC tends to be like more mechanical based for Hoi, as far as I read.
Yeah, because the update to the German tree was not with. See, the update to the USA tree was. What else?
It was part of the.
It was
part of
made
the
guns,
DLC.
right?
Yeah.
Like
I think it was
the latest
that was
DLC in La
Abandon.
Resistance is all the mechanical focus of it was the spying shit, and then there was focus trees, added in there
For Spain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then there was man the guns mechanically all about the Navy, and then some of the nations got focus trees. I think that's the way they're going to go.
I would think they might do another one for like flight airplanes.
Yeah, no, definitely.
Mm-hmm. Do a workover with them like they've done with boats.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would definitely be warranted, I think.
But I've only just learned the boats, I say, as I learned it last year again.
Well, now you just need Mordred Viking to make a video teaching airplanes.
Yeah, definitely.
Sounds.
I was like, funny thing.
And then he can use little tiny biplanes at the next PDX con and shoot down everyone else's planes when everyone's and totally show us all up.
I was playing that dwarf faction. I was like, for Anbennar, and I was like, I'll just look on YouTube, see if anyone else has done it, see if I did anything right or did anything wrong. Who's the first person, the only person to play as it? Fucking Mordred. There he is, and he was doing
wrong.
better than
No,
I was.
I played Ovdal Kanzad the day before he did.
Oh shit!
Yeah, and Mike runs on YouTube as well. So he wasn't the first, but he is way bigger than me on Twitch, so I totally understand.
I'll check those out too. I mean, I'll compare.
Oh, no, you're going to do way better than me, but absolutely trash compared to him. He fucking owned that campaign.
He really did, yeah.
He raided me when I played Ovdal Kansas, and he was like, oh, we're doing the same one, and oh my God, you're doing so badly. I was like, oh, I was in the process of being murdered, and he was like 20 years ahead of me, and he'd like conquered the big dude to the right, and I'm like, oh, just fine. Okay.
Mordred's best skills.
I don't know that I have any predictions for Imperator, just because I feel like the team's priorities are very different from what my priorities would be. But obviously, my biggest wish for Imperator is to get outside of the Mediterranean a little bit. Let's see some content for the Gauls, for the Britons, the Germanics, the Dacians, the Scythians.
Let's get a Boadicea.
Formable to
DLC. No, they could easily call one Boadicea, or however you want to pronounce her name, and that would be a glorious name, and they could focus on the British Isles.
Yeah,
and then some mainland as well.
The areas
really towards the end of the game, but it totally could work. I mean,
you can move it up a little bit. It's a fantasy sort of historical game. It's about as real historically as the Bridgerton show was on Netflix to Real History, which is a really good show, by the way. It's based off of a series of romance novels by Julia Quinn that I'm a fan of her works and read them for years. But it's about as realistically historical as a CK3 game 1 minute after you pause it.
Yeah.
Or unpause it, I mean.
Yeah,
nice.
I could totally see them doing. How did you pronounce it? Boudicca?
I think it's Boudica.
I say Boudica, but I mean, who knows? Who knows, right? We don't know how they spoke. Yeah. It's just, honestly, it's probably a name that the Romans gave her anyway. Like, who knows what her real name was?
Yeah. Yeah. Areas of the map.
Booty Kai is her rapper name.
The areas of the map that they've focused on so far: Rome, Carthage, the Diadochi, the Aegean. Boring. No, I want my barbarians.
I know you do, but like the selling point of the game, I think when they have Imperator to the point where it is among the wider public seen as like a worthy part of the pantheon that is Paradox games, sure. Then you go to the barbarian lands that nobody plays anyway, and you fix them. But right now, they really need to focus on making the countries that people play a lot of, or I mean, a lot relatively.
Here's the thing: if they did like a Boadicea expansion and they heavily, or DLC, even just a free one, they heavily sort of promoted and showed like changes with tribes, that would get some people into play who are like, I don't want to play as Rome. I want to, be the people going down and conquering and destroying Rome.
I just need to get everybody on the Imperator team to listen to Helvetios all the way through, and then we'll get some good Gaul content finally. So, tribes are better. I don't care. I don't care about the established empires except for tearing them down. So,
see,
not much has changed in the past 2,000 years for you, then.
No. Yeah, well, I think we're coming up on the end of our time here, but do you have any last minute predictions or wishes for Grand Strategy in 2021?
I have a hope, and that is that, like I said earlier, that Imperator has a renaissance for itself, and people actually give the game a bit of fucking respect. That would be pretty nice. I hope the numbers for players go up.
Yeah, I think especially with the redoing the UI, that's going to be a great way to get people to give it another look, because it just looks like such a much more attractive game now. Mm-hmm. This is a real glow up, as they say.
Yeah.
Well, in the meantime, I know, Rose, you weren't here for the beginning of the show, but we playing anything interesting lately, and where can people find you?
I haven't been able to stream in several weeks.
Yeah.
I'm trying to do a YouTube video every week. The last one was a RimWorld, which was quite funny. If you went to see the Zerg born in the world of RimWorld,
I will say I downloaded RimWorld again after watching your video. You inspired me to get back into it, because RimWorld's like where my channel started, and I want to go back.
Oh, really? To it. Wow. I didn't realize
the first
that.
video I ever had to breach 1,000 views was RimWorld.
I still have not played RimWorld.
Oh my god, it's one of those games that if you are quote unquote a gamer, you have to have played. I love Dwarf Fortress, and I've heard it's basically kind of like Dwarf Fortress in space. So
go watch my video.
Okay, I will do that
a week ago, and then go buy RimWorld.
It's not
also
as good as
watch one of Benjamin Magnus's recent streams. He got invaded by 4 mechanoid clusters at once, and he had a 4-hour-long battle with them. It was intense, and probably one of the best 4-hour streams I've seen in a long time. It was enthralling. I loved it.
What were you saying, Lawrence?
I was going to say, I'm going to shit on everyone's parade and say, don't buy RimWorld. It's a rubbish Dwarf Fortress. Go play Dwarf Fortress instead.
RimWorld has a UI.
Shut up, old man.
Oh, man. You just use your imagination. You fill in the blanks with smiley little faces.
See, if I wanted to use my imagination, I'd play tabletop games. Yes, D&D. Use my imagination.
Look, when Dwarf Fortress releases on Steam and actually has something that does make my eyes bleed, 100%, I'm going to go and play that game.
You can download. They've had
but that's so much effort.
10 years.
It's even made by the same guy. Like Mayday, you can get the Lazy Noob pack too.
Right.
If you really want to be lazy.
If all Dwarf Fortress on Steam was going to be was the Dwarf Fortress we have now with the Lazy Noob pack, it'd be out a year ago. That's not it. There's mouse support, keyboard support, and it's going to be way more than just that. Come on.
It's made by Mike.
Yeah, Rosebud is agreeing with you.
Yeah.
Who I think also made the graphics pack, which I always used for years. Oh, man. I can't wait for that. Just wait for it. Don't buy RimWorlds.
Dwarf Fortress it certainly has its place, and it should be held up as a massive inspiration for so many games. But RimWorld is its own thing. It's more about the interaction between your characters rather than the building of your fortress. Dwarf Fortress, sure, you have characters, you know each of their names. You can have a look in your list and see, this one's called freaking Gundren Rockseeker or whatever it's called.
And also
but
you can find out
RimWorld is way more about the characters than Dwarf Fortress
and if you're streaming it, you name it after all your subscribers in chat, and then
they die.
You go, yes, they die, or they survive, but they cause someone else to die.
Yeah.
But does RimWorld track injuries to specific organs in battle?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Yeah, but
watch.
Well, just
go watch the video I put out last week, Leanna.
Well, you should also play Dwarf Fortress, and just like we said with the key to winning as a dwarf in any game is just keep digging deeper. You just get richer and richer the deeper you dig, and nothing bad ever happens. So
Mithril is worth a load of money. You don't want to talk about Mithril wasted.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, especially when you start with Mithril, that's how you know you've dug. You're digging in the right place. So
yeah. Keep digging. Just keep digging.
And you should always ignore any warnings about ancient dangers.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
no
yeah.
such thing.
For dwarves
There's no such
and
thing.
for RimWorld. Yeah.
Fake news.
Yes.
Fake news.
Going through this wall, going down this tunnel, same thing. Just keep going.
Lambert, what have you been up to, and where can people find your?
I have been playing quite a bit of EU4 lately. Playing the Anbennar mod. At the moment on my channel is the Ovdal Kanzad run that, spoiler alert, failed. But after that, I tried out playing as the Elves of Venail, and I've done a couple of streams as them so far, and I've got like 19 episodes ready to be released on YouTube. So it's going pretty well, and the elves are pretty fun. So if you want to see some Anbennar, definitely recommend that.
Failed because you didn't dig deep enough, right?
Yes. No, that is 100%. I didn't dig deep enough, and so when the humans came knocking, I wasn't deep enough in my hold to defend. You know, it was it was an awful situation. And I've also been playing as the reincarnation of Augustus in CK3, and I'm on like the 4th or maybe 5th character in that run, trying to spread Hellenic Roman values to the Roman Empire, who is silly and embraced orthodoxy, which is clearly wrong because Zeus kicks his ass.
I've watched a couple of those. It's good. It's a good series.
Thank you.
Loris, have you been up to anything that the fine listeners should know about?
Not really. Been in a lockdown malaise. That's been going on for the past year now, I guess.
I've been 2020ing it.
Yeah.
Real 2020 mood. Missing the pub. Wishing I could escape fucking Wales. Please, someone get me out of Wales.
I feel like that's a common occurrence.
Do you really want to come to the US?
Look, there's more countries than Wales in the USA. There are more countries in the world than those two. Thank God.
Well,
yeah, I hear there's a strange place called Finland.
Yeah, it's great.
It doesn't exist.
We've got free healthcare. It's great. Love it.
Oh, man. I'm on tier, like somebody said in chat, I'm on tier 5, 6, and I have a tier infinity and have been all year. Oh, man.
Yeah, Finland's doing pretty well with the COVIDs.
Oh man. I was kind of in the same place for most of the break, honestly. I just haven't been doing much. I do want to get back to I stream on twitch.tv/LoreSwornOrder. I want to get back to finishing Assassin's Creed Valhalla, which was a fan-funded series, so I promised I'd finish the whole game. Probably going to try to get back to that a little later this month, but I also found out I'm going to have to move at the end of the month, so we'll see what happens. When I can actually have a schedule that is reliable, I'll be sure to let everybody know. I did change my Twitter handle, by the way. If you're already following me, you don't need to refollow me, but I'm Till Folkvang now on Twitter. If you go to Asa TJ, it'll just say this account's inactive and tell you what the real new account is. So,
explain what Folkvang is for the people who don't know as well, I guess.
Folkvanger is Freya's Hall in Asgard. It's where actually half of the dead go to Valhalla and the other half go to Folkvang. The valorous dead half go to Valhalla with Odin and half go to Folkvang with Freya. So it's kind of like the better Valhalla. It's a little nicer. Doesn't smell as weird.
Yeah, that stale beer smell in Valhalla.
Yeah.
It's not for everyone.
Yeah, there's more cats. If you like cats, Freya has a lot of cats. She's kind of the cat lady of the.
Yeah, I imagine Valhalla's got like really sticky floors, you know?
Yeah, and probably, the Einherjar, they're throwing up a lot. Like all they're doing is eating pork and drinking mead. So it's like, the bathrooms are probably not clean at all. It's just not the best.
Too drunk to use the bathroom, just up against the wall.
Yeah,
one hand on the pillar, and then
exactly, that's very loud. There's lots of yelling. You can't really concentrate on your manuscript. So, Anyway, that is going to do it for this week. We will be back again next Wednesday with more grand strategy news and more. You can follow the podcast here on Twitch. You can subscribe to us on SoundCloud, Twitter, Spotify, YouTube, iTunes, Twitch, Stitcher, pretty much everywhere. We are NoCB Cast. And
quick apology to the clicking noise that was happening. If you heard that, Rosebud has discovered how to click his tongue and does it occasionally.
Nice.
And that's on top of my cigarette lighter. I kept thinking it was me clicking my toenails, which no.
Rosebud and Loris are communicating with each other in Morse code. The show, using a tongue and a cigarette lighter. So that's the secret podcast about embargo stuff that we're not allowed to talk.
Yeah.
All right.
They're discussing humankind.
Yes, of course. We'll see you next week. Thanks for tuning in.
Bye-bye.
Take care. It's all right. Oh, and Happy New Year.
Oh, yeah, that was it.
Happy New Year.
Yeah.
It's like January 12th at this point, but yeah.
It's a bit late or whatever.
I don't even know what day it is.
It's the 14th. Well, for me, it's the 14th. 13th for you.
Yeah.
Bye.